All right, guys, back again. Episode 2 with me, your host, Chris Gray. Thank you so much for checking out episode 1. This week, we don't really dive quite as deep into the story as we normally would because the guest I'm bringing on today has never been able to take anything seriously in his life. But honestly, it makes for an hysterical episode, and I'm really happy to get a shorter, kind of more fun episode in. I mean, we are talking about murder here, so I guess it shouldn't really be fun. But anyway, the story this week is kind of the case study for why celebrities these days don't hire their fans. Because sometimes what seems like appreciation is actually obsession, and that's just not good for anybody. Today, we look at the story and life of Selena. And joining us this week, this kid is probably my second oldest friend. Only longer by maybe a couple months with Johnny, but that's about it.
Oh, I gotta love Johnny.
One of my two best friends in the entire world. Love them both. Yeah, I'm really excited to have him. My best friend, probably your best friend too, Paul Caruso.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
What's up, buddy?
Not much, same old. Working, surviving, doing the bare minimum.
Sounds like Paul. All right. Selena Quintanilla was born on April 16th, 1971 in Lake Jackson, Texas, to mother Marcella and father Abraham. Her father took notice to her musical abilities very early on.
He looks like the guy from the diabetes commercial.
Having her and her two siblings, Abraham III and Suzette, perform at the family's restaurant. The restaurant, however, would be forced to close during the recession of 1981, forcing the family to move in with their relatives in Corpus Christi. This is where her music career really started to take off. Selena and family played under the name Selena y los Dinos.
Who the fuck wears barrettes anymore? Like, that whole family is fucked up just from wearing barrettes.
This is like
I just want to put that out there.
This is like 1984, Paul. Like,
what? Does that matter?
I mean, yeah, like timing matters. It's a fashion, I guess.
When were they ever in style? Tell me that much.
I don't know.
France? Maybe.
Paul, I was not alive then. I can't tell you. Playing street corners, weddings, quinceañeras, and fairs. As their popularity grew, Abraham loaded up his family into an old refurbished bus.
Oh my god, that is such a creepy bus.
Performing wherever they could, barely making enough money for food and gas. The band would eventually go on to sign with Freddie Records, releasing their self-titled debut LP in 1984, and go on to release 5 more LPs before the end of 1988. Selena would then sign as a solo act to the newly formed EMI Latin Records, releasing her solo debut, Selena, on October 17th, 1989, following it up with her sophomore effort, Ven Conmigo, in September of 1990. It was at a concert in support of this record, Selena would come into contact with Yolanda Saldivar, who after attending the show would repeatedly make requests to Selena's father to start a fan club in the San Antonio area. Eventually, Abraham would give in to these requests. With Saldivar acting as sitting president, the fan club became immensely successful, leading her to becoming an extremely close and trusted friend of the family. This arrangement would prove to have deadly consequences. Over the coming years, Selena would release her third album, Entre a mi Mundo, in May 1992. The album would catapult her career to new heights, peaking at number 1 on the Billboard Regional Mexican Albums chart for 8 consecutive months, and going on to be certified 10 times platinum. Also winning a Grammy for Best Mexican American Album for her 1993 live album, simply titled Live. Coming off the success of these albums, Selena would begin designing her own clothing line, opening 2 boutiques, both called Selena Etc., located in Corpus Christi and San Antonio, with Saldivar being promoted to manager of the boutiques, where staff would reportedly often complain about the treatment they received from Saldivar, with her being called unstable. Selena would release her 4th album, Amor Prohibido, in 1994. This album would go on to be ranked number 19 on NPR's list of 150 greatest albums made by women. In January of 1995, Selena's father Abraham started to receive multiple calls from people claiming to have paid for their memberships to the Selena fan club, but had still not received their promotional materials supplied with their membership. Upon an investigation, he also found many unpaid and overdue bills at Selena's boutiques. Saldivar had embezzled upwards of $60,000.
Well, yeah, of course.
What? Why, of course?
She obviously was going to steal the money.
Why?
Because backtrack. So just from looking at her and just from how she treated people, you knew she was going to steal money.
I mean,
like, out of all things, she's rich. She's managing a company.
Yeah,
that
but
singer probably doesn't really look over. Of course, she's going to skim from the top.
Yeah, but she doesn't act that way around the family. She only acts that way around, like, the people working for her.
No.
They confronted Saldivar with the evidence they had collected, who had no response in her defense and left the meeting, but only after Abraham had banned her from contacting Selena. Selena, however, was not ready to completely cut Saldivar off. Saldivar was heavily involved in the opening of the new Selena Etc. boutique in Mexico. The two, however, did remain estranged. The next day, Selena's father chased Saldivar off the production studio Selena was working from, also taking her off the boutique's bank accounts and replacing her as the president of the Selena fan club. The day after that, Saldivar purchased a snub-nosed .38 caliber revolver, along with some hollow point rounds, designed to cause the max amount of damage per shot. Saldivar requested a meeting with Selena on March 13, 1995. According to Selena's father, this is believed to be the first attempt at Selena's life by Saldivar. The pair met in a parking lot, approximately 25 miles outside of Corpus Christi.
If I was her and I just fired this woman, or my father just ran her out of a studio, and we took her name off all the bank accounts, everything she was involved with, the last thing I would do is go and meet with her, because I know she's going to kill me.
Especially at a parking lot like 25 miles outside of town. Like that was
that's the sketchiest thing.
That was
we learned when we were kids. Don't get into a car with a stranger,
I thought
and
of
don't meet someone in an alley.
It is here that Selena told Saldivar she planned to keep employing her to continue heading up the new business ventures in Mexico. This is believed by Abraham to be the only reason Selena was able to walk away from the meeting, with Saldivar even showing Selena the gun she had purchased.
At this point, she just dug her own grave.
Doing what? Hold on, wait, what?
Did I not hear that right? That she showed her the gun?
Yeah, she showed her the gun. Like, she didn't say she was going to use it on her. She just showed her that she had a gun. I mean, it's a little, yeah, I get it.
If I pissed any of you guys off, any of my friends, to that extent, and the next time I meet with you, one of the first things you say is, "Hey, look, I bought a gun." I'm not talking to you again. There is zero doubt in my mind that any one of you could kill me.
Damn straight. You bet no I could kill you. You bet no I could kill you.
So if you show me a gun, I'm out. I'm gone.
Yeah, I get it. Okay. You're winning me. You're winning me over on this train of thought here.
Like, I'm running as fast as I can away from you.
Soon after, Saldivar went with Selena to Tennessee, where Selena was working on her upcoming album. Selena had questioned Saldivar about the missing bank statements while on the trip. This was apparently enough to set off Saldivar again, because she then went back to repurchase the .38 caliber revolver she had returned after the first alleged attempt. On March 27, 1995, she once again requested a private meeting with Selena, who agreed to meet her.
Oh my god!
Saldivar tried to get Selena to meet her alone in a motel room, but somehow it had been leaked that Selena was going to be there. The hotel was mobbed by fans. Abraham has stated that he believes this was the second attempt on Selena's life, believing her fans to have saved her that day, creating too many witnesses to the crime. On March 30th, 1995, she once again requested to meet Selena alone in a motel room. She claimed that she had been raped while on a trip to Monterrey, Mexico. This time, however, Selena's husband, Chris Perez, accompanied her to the meeting, though he claims to have waited in his truck while Selena went into the motel room. This is believed to be the third attempt at Selena's life by Saldivar, with her husband's presence being the reason, once again, Saldivar had cold feet. On the drive home from the meeting, Saldivar tried multiple times to contact Selena via her pager. She then tried to convince Selena to accompany her to the hospital because she had started to bleed due to the alleged rape. Perez stopped her from going out that night, stating he did not want her going out alone so late at night. Selena privately agreed to meet her the next day. The next day at the Days Inn Motel in Corpus Christi, guests had complained about hearing two women arguing over business matters. Selena allegedly demanded the return of financial papers related to the fan club, allegedly telling Saldivar she can no longer be trusted. The contents of Saldivar's bag were dumped out onto the bed in an attempt to retrieve the papers. The papers, unfortunately, were not the only thing in Saldivar's bag. At 11:48 a.m. on March 31st, 1995, Saldivar picked up the gun that had fallen out of her bag and shot once, hitting Selena on the lower right shoulder as she fled. The shot severed the subclavian artery, causing massive hemorrhaging. Even though she was shot, Selena was able to escape to the lobby of the motel, leaving a trail of blood approximately 392 feet long. She was seen clutching her chest, screaming that she had been shot, before collapsing on the lobby floor at 11:49 a.m. Paramedics were unable to find a pulse. Saldivar was reported to be following Selena out of the room, calling her a bitch. Selena was transferred to Corpus Christi Memorial Hospital at 12 p.m. It was claimed her pupils were fixed, she had no vital signs, and no evidence of neurological function, being declared clinically brain dead. For the next hour, doctors tried frantically to revive her, but their efforts were in vain, as she was pronounced dead at 1:05 p.m. March 31st, 1995. Saldivar had been seen trying to flee the scene with her head wrapped in a towel. She entered her 1994 pickup truck and attempted to leave the motel, but she was spotted by an officer responding to the shooting. With his weapon drawn, he ordered Saldivar out of the truck. Saldivar then parked her truck in between two vehicles in the parking lot, which in turn was blocked in by a police vehicle. Out of options, Saldivar picked up the gun she had just shot Selena with and put it to her right temple, threatening to commit suicide. A standoff occurred, with Saldivar telling negotiators she had intended on taking her own life, and the gun just went off as Selena was trying to leave. The standoff would last over 9 hours before Saldivar surrendered and was taken into police custody.
How do you have a standoff for 9 hours?
They can't just let it, like, she has a gun. She can't, like, they can't just let her kill herself, and they can't just worry that she's only playing, and the second one of them gets close, pop, you know what I mean? Like, they can't just kill her for
but
no
this is
reason.
a woman who just murdered someone, you know?
Yeah, but you have to let them see their day in court and all that.
Eh.
It's the same thing that happened to, like, OJ.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, after the Bronco chase, he pulled into his house and he just sat there with the gun at his head for like fucking hours. Saldivar pleaded not guilty to the murder, claiming the shooting was accidental, but it took the jury less than 2 hours of deliberation before handing down a guilty verdict. Saldivar was sentenced to the maximum sentence allowed of life in prison with the possibility of parole after 30 years. She is currently being held at Mountain View Unit in Gainesville, Texas, and will be eligible for parole on March 30th, 2025. As a whole, just how do you feel about the story?
Again, I mean, after the second time, I would be out. Like, the fact that she kept her in her life, let her contact her, is insane.
I don't think she necessarily knew that this person was trying to kill her. She just thought, like, oh, like, they became friends first and foremost. That's like a big thing, like a big theme I've been seeing. So it's kind of like when you have that shitty friend that you know you should have gotten rid of a long time ago. Looking at you, Paul. But but you still kind of let them back in your life because you have all like the sentimental memories and like stuff like that. So like you want it to work out even though you know it's not gonna.
I would agree with that fact if it wasn't for the fact that if you showed me a gun after all the bullshit went down,
that's it. That's a big one.
I'm not taking that chance.
that is a pretty big one. I'll give it to you. All right, Paul. Thanks for being here. Do you have anything to say to the fans?
Download, subscribe, whatever.
Holy shit! Paul did a nice thing. Oh my god! I'm gonna end it here.
I won't subscribe, but you can.
See, there it is.
I'm kidding.
There it is. You still don't subscribe to my fucking podcast.
Well, I've been on it, so now I'm kind of entitled to.
Well, okay. Goodbye. I'm hanging up on you now. All right, guys, and that about wraps it up. Like I said, more of a short and sweet episode. A little more me and Paul just joking around a little bit and having a little bit of fun. Not going into it quite as deep as we normally would, but it's a much more straightforward story than I have covered or I'm going to cover in this season. Make sure you like and subscribe, turn on them notifications, get reminded of all things murder music. Keep leaving in the comments who you think we should cover. Give us some more ideas. Thanks, guys.